I am back with good play today. Today's games feature a Grandmaster and also a 2400 rated player. So I'm talking about my syncing process all the way from the opening to the end of game. All right, we have a game. Which opening to play? Let's play e4. And then we have the Sicilian, good opening. So there's obviously the main idea is knight f3, d4 if you want to play dismiss more, right? Let's play the closed Sicilian. It's playable here. So the closed Sicilian is also very playable. It's maybe not as active line, but it's still playable. It's not like it's not. I think the open Sicilian is probably the most most active one. So we could do this as well. So here, bishop g2, bishop g7. It could get really like close position. It could also get like it could get active depending on how both sides are playing. So we could castle here. I'm expecting you would castle maybe f4. So f4 is to gaining some ideas toward the center. And so he plays d5, which is good. I like it. So we need to develop the bishop. You don't want to do this because this is d4. d4, you lose a piece, right? We could actually do this, maybe maneuvering this way, like bishop f2 if I want. We could play here. Queen b6 is the move, though. Maybe bishop d7. So he played rook b8. I'm assuming it's b5. So rook b8 is supporting the pawn to move to b5. You cannot take, of course, right? If we play here, it's a6 and b5. So he wants this move. What to do in situation like this, sir? What to do? So he wants to play b5. So it's like b5, b4. So if we play e4, let's say plays e6, could I do a5? But the idea here, if he goes b5, we could take. So e4, a6, e5, could he take? But we may have this kind of stuff. Bishop takes e5. So it's here. If he goes here, I could do this. Taking would be like, if I play knight takes d5, my bishop and the rook would connect. So which allows this move. So I play e4. If he does this move, I'm playing a5. So we don't give him b5. I mean, not that easy. He could actually do this kind of stuff, b6, a6, b5, but a little bit slower move. So we could do this. He played a6 and now e5. So if he goes for this one, this, like I mentioned, is knight takes. The idea is actually if he takes bishop takes e5. So we get a little bit of action going on in the center. So we both take the pawn at, but I think white may benefit from this because he's taking a central pawn here as opposed to him taking the pawn on the other side of the board. He actually went for it. You don't want to sack here. Rook takes e5. It doesn't do anything. It may do something if the queen has to go here because I could take the knight with check. The problem is here, knight takes d5. I'm attacking the queen. He just goes back to d8. So if I take here, takes here, I'm just losing an exchange. So we could do this. I'm actually just I noticed that maybe bishop takes b2 is a move here, which maybe it's okay though. So if we go here, yeah, we just take though. I mean, he might take here. I take here b6, bishop c3, which defends b2. So now I'm going for this bishop takes c5. This move is met by here, and then I take on a5. So that you have to remember when you're dealing with any kind of like exchange or trading, you want to combine the shacks, some kind of a shack. So I would take here with shack, which forcing him to take. So he went here, pawn takes. I was about to do rook takes. So we could do this with the idea we gain a tempo. If I were to do rook takes e5, he just takes here, I suppose, and the rook doesn't really look impressive on a5. So we does take here. I'm assuming b6, and then we could do here. Maybe he has d4. I mean, d4 is probably a move. He could trade, but I think it's probably d4 to maintain a little bit of control on the center. But he could go for bishop takes. So I'm assuming if he takes his knight takes, d4 is still a move though. So this is actually pawn takes. I don't know if I'm a fan of pawn takes because these would lead to like better pawns for black. So maybe, yeah, so that's d4. I just may have to do this move. So bishop b7. Could we go for open lines? So if we do here, that would open up for his king. May have to try it though. So if he goes here, we take. He could still do this. King takes, but we open up for his king. And also, I'm looking for f6. So he actually took, which is kind of interesting. I guess here he's counting on maybe knight d5, or you could check on d5. That also works. So you could check and then takes. But a6 is hanging in some line here. So this is actually takeable. So he could do knight here, but actually, you know, this knight f4 is interesting, though. So the problem, it's interesting. He has to be... For example, if he goes here, which he may defend a pawn, we may have some play against his king, meaning that king knight h5, we are attacking here. Maybe it's queen g4. I'm going for a direct attack. So I'm leaning heavily toward knight here. It's a tempo against the queen. He may have to do like queen c6, I guess. Something like knight h5, queen g6 to defend queen g4 from happening. So he may have to give up that pawn anyway, but... So we do this move. We'll see what he's going to do, because if he goes wrong, like let's say it goes passively, go all the way to b7, which I think consider queen b7 is passive, because he's just defending a pawn for, and this is not about pawns now. So I could do, there's actually knight e3 happening, knight h5. So if I do here knight e3, I suppose. There's also bishop f4. There's maybe queen g4. Still knight here. See, he wants to play knight e3. If he could do this, this is probably okay for him. So if we play here, it's still here. I could still take though. The idea he takes, making the room for knight h5. So here, it's check here. He could go back to e5. There's also rook e1. Let's try rook e1. I mean, maybe he could still do this, actually. No, he might just move the queen, but move the queen where? So he does actually went for this move instead. So I could play here. He doesn't have knight takes for now. I'm just making, I'm trying to gain a move here by not, this, the rook would take on the queen, so he cannot really easily move the knight. Maybe I could take and rook takes and still have some action happening. So now he wants to take knight takes c2, and that's going to be winning the rook at some point. So I may have to take. That opens up for the bishop though, so maybe takes c3. So he's gonna take c3. So this is actually very interesting ending. I mean, it's actually heading toward an ending, but it's still middle game for me though. It's like a knight versus a bishop. I'm assuming the knight is actually active, and the reason I played c3 here so I could eliminate some of the activity, and also he was attacking b2. And also c3 is avoiding bishop d4. Let's say if I play c4 here, that would be garbage move, because he could get this bishop on d4. By the way, this is still playable because he could play c4 knight d5, but the bishop would have a long diagonal here. So he actually kind of understood that, this knight is too strong. Maybe he wants to trade, but then we could take a pawn. But I mean, I'm just taking back my pawn. Nothing too crazy about it. May have to go for it though. There's also rook takes here. We may have to do this way. He's probably gonna take. because the knight is too strong here. But he doesn't have to take right now, assuming bishop takes c3, check. He may use this in his, like maybe developing a rook or something, like rook d8. Yeah, like that one. We just play here. So if he takes here, it's probably rook takes. It's probably a draw somehow, this position, but the flag is going to be a concern. Yeah, I'm assuming he's going to take here, right? So takes. I'm going to offer a draw, but we'll see. I mean, maybe he could take it. Maybe not. Maybe he's looking at the flag. I mean, it looks like it's a draw because it's no, with both sides are not claiming anything. So here it's, equal amount of pawns. So you always want to get your king toward the center. It's a good thing. So maybe here and then start moving the rook. My rook is actually slightly better, but after this rook d6 is actually pretty strong because now he wants to swing that way. So if he check, I could just simply go back here. This, disallowing this rook move because he could go this way after b2. So I'm just trying to eliminate all the possibilities. So f5 is to just, not allowing this. He can still play rook h6, but he's not really attacking the pawn. My king's on here. So we could go here. He could still do this. I could check h3, but the king gets active. But also my rook gets active. So now I have this move, and I also have rook takes h7. Maybe this is rushed, this king move. Because I could simply do here and go back, and then I could take a free pawn. Actually, this is not a free pawn. Maybe you could still take here. But it could be interesting that this king and pawn ending is not maybe a problem. Because white is getting active, a little bit active. So if I check here, it goes back here. I mean, maybe there's a draw here if I want. How about if we step in, though? That seems to be key. Because now we could play here or f6 or rook check f6. It's probably d4, because this is actually a pass pawn. We could create a pass pawn that way. We also look, we are not allowing this kind of stuff. So the rook's sitting on h3 to stop any of these moves for now. We're also defending d3. He just went a little bit passive here. You don't want to play passive in an ending game, especially with the rook ending games. It's all about activity sometimes, and activity wins. So I could check here, so now you could tell my rook is probably active than this one, even though this is still lining up like that, which is still good. So now we could play here, I guess. I could still push king f6. So if king f6, we could take here. This is rook d7, though. So actually, this mate idea. So this actually potential mate, we could take here. So that's pretty good. I mean, if he's defending the pawn, then we could go here. You can see the rook is now being passive. I mean, if you have to go here, it's major passive. Then we go here. You can see the king is being cut off. So maybe this pawn could promote. Like I could go here and then my king somehow here and then f6. So he wants to play here, I guess. We could just push with ideas I take on here. You could check, though. I don't mind rook e2. Now he offered me a draw. Maybe it's too late, but... So if he goes here, I could take, and rook e2 is just moving the king here. It's f7, f8. So I take the pawn. It may not matter what he does here. He may have a pass pawn, which he will, but I guess it's not as fast. So we could probably play, let's see, we could play here in f7. He could check, I guess. So all we have to do is put our king here, or we could use our other pass pawn. So we have two. So maybe king f6, king e7, king f8, king g8. That's maybe the goal. So he plays here. We could just play here. I don't understand this move because I could stop here, stop this move, stop e2 because I could do this takes. And then this pawn is running. So there's f8 here, f8 move. So I may have to go here, right? So I could stop the checks. So king g8 would stop the checks, and also f8. F8 would happen. So here and f8. Maybe stalemate ideas now, but I don't see it happening because he has king h5. So f8. He could try a2 and a2 because I have to take, and then he could check me again here. And it's still winning, of course, because I could still get to the same ideas and concept, considering this is also moving. You don't want to check here because he could take, and then he could queen, so takes here first. He's going to check here, of course, here, and then he didn't do any of this. So we could queen then. We could take then. And then we could do this, h6. So we won the game. Let's do the game review. Let's see what happens. I mean, let's see if the computer agrees with what I, was my moves. And 92%, wow. 92%, 85.2. So all these are book moves so far. We talked about this low ideas, in the closed Sicilian. So here everything is common, not a mistake, and then you typically want to do like f4. F4 now is not a good idea. So maybe it's not the best idea. Maybe you have better. Maybe it's bishop e3. If I remember the line, it's probably bishop e3, I think. Yeah, it's bishop e3. But I actually, the reason I played f4 because I used to play the Grand Prix, and this Grand Prix Sicilian, which you do a lot of f4. I mean, you play queen e1 and h3, g4, queen h4, and then bishop h6. So f4 was needed should you play this into Sicilian, the Grand Prix Sicilian. So I played here bishop d2. It looks like black is getting a little bit active here according to the engine, and then here, and I think I played e6. And then e5 is a good move, but really this move is a mistake because the computer feels like that after takes here, you do take on the central pawn, right? Yeah, so I had to take on knight d5, which is good. Takes here, bishop takes here, and then b6. All of this is common. So here, is it really bishop takes is a good idea? It's still playable, and then knight takes here, and I guess maybe it's d4. I mean, I guess maybe d4 could still happen. Yeah, I mean, white slightly better, but I think it's probably like a draw somehow. But d4 is interesting. We talked about this during the game. So now here, he played bishop b7. White is getting better here after like f5. Maybe here... It's hard to say. Maybe this move is really tough to make, but it's actually f5, and you do have to play this. So it's interesting. Why would you allow this? According to the engine, is actually okay because maybe you have like knight d5 happening. Maybe not knight d5, but like a5, yeah. a5, and you may allow this. For me, it looks like white is active, but according to the engine, this is actually maybe the what black has to do. I did not consider during the game that this is actually going to happen, but it's a way to play to stop the attack from whatever white is doing, because I'm gonna play f5, right? So once I played f5, things are getting really tough now. Whoa, is it knight f4? Yeah, it's knight f4. So the idea is knight f4, knight h5. Like, you could ignore this idea with the idea here that you may just do this. You could even take, yeah. And actually here I'm opening up lines, and you do have to consider that this is also hanging. After this kind of stuff, white is opening up for the king. So the king is not really there's no pawn on g6. So that makes a lot of sense to me that why would white be better here? There's always this kind of stuff. The bishop could open up here. The queen could go to g4. So yeah, that makes sense to me that, I don't have to take right away. And maybe after taking, things are getting not so good for me after he takes here and then here and then here. So I think here you could, things are really draw from here. And then after knight f4, he played here. All of this is like a best move. So he played here. The computer, likes queen f3 and then queen d6. And then I think here, so I was talking about c4, right? Because this seems to be, for me, it's good to explain why c4 is not a good move. You could do c4. I mean, b2 is hanging, but you know, so for me here, you are giving this square for no reason. Like bishop d4. You know, bishop b2 is also hanging, but I think it's the bishop gets like a really strong diagonal for no reason. As opposed to here, c3, the bishop is limited. Like you do have 1, 2, 1, 2, maybe 3, if we can consider bishop h6. But if you go here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, technically. I mean, c3 is not a real, it's not a real move you could do because I could take. So you want to, you know, I kind of like limited the scope for the bishop when I play c3. And the computer likes it. Maybe it was liking maybe rook takes, I guess. I mean, but maybe here c3 is reasonable. I think I felt like it was a reasonable move. And then rook takes. This actually looks like it's a draw to me because he's just simply trade and then everything is okay. So it doesn't like this move at all. You know, it doesn't like this move. I think it's like a5. Maybe that's not even a5. Maybe it's a stake. I think this is actually logical enough. You know, I was talking about during the game is just simply takes. This is like a boring kind of ending game, I think. During the game, I just felt like this is not really. And then after e5, things are getting real. You know, you don't have much, right? So what happened during the game? I think maybe I missed something big here. I think it's maybe takes a knight h5. Maybe it's like here, knight h5. Yeah, knight h5. So the reason why, because you do have, so first of all, the king is still like, there's some back rank issue. There's maybe still rook here. Knight f6 is actually a knight threat right now because you could take here. So maybe a rook here, but then we have some like here back rank issues. Then once you play here, then rook e4, look at this. This is like computer action. And that kind of explained the point. Rook e4 with the idea is rook g4. And there's a back rank issue for black. So, you know, even though a rook e4 is good, but black still hold. But that kind of explain, you know, speaks volume that, you know, back rank means a lot. And so his back rank had a little bit of concern here defending. So he actually didn't do any of these moves. He actually went for, yeah, this move is not best because it wants other line. Then it's boring from here. There's not much I could say that he could, you know, I guess it's actually draw from here. And you can see now the reason why things got really bad for him. So everything is still good here. Even this move, and then this move is still okay, and then here. Then you could see this is actually a bad move. So I talked about this pawn is takeable, but d3 is also takeable, right? So maybe here... let's see what the computer's suggesting here. I mean, I could see, like, yeah, so king e4 is probably the best move. Actually, before here, let's see. What would be the best move here for him? I mean, I would say this is maybe playable. Maybe play not so much. There's also, like, couple moves here. Like, you could still play, like, king f6 anyway. Yeah, so maybe this move is playable, and anytime you play here. So now this is where the mistake is. So maybe like, because you know, we talked about he went back. So here maybe it's, you know, computer is basically saying, I'm actually repeating the same line again. So let's see here, here. And let's say he could just simply play, this move is probably not by this. Is it h5 maybe? I mean, the h5 is wicked weird, but still playable. Yeah, maybe not. Is it b4? Yeah, b4. So you could ignore rook takes h7. The idea is rook takes d3. And it's actually draw from here. So even though I have a pass pawn at h2, but his rook is so active now that, you know, there's not much going on. But he went passively. So the idea is he went one passive move that decided the game. So it's actually funny that here, that loses the game technically. +2 here in an ending game like this is actually probably enough for a win. Because the king gets active, the rook gets active. So, you know, obviously I took advantage of moving the king fast enough. So the king is so active. So the reason this move is so strong is because it supports a pawn here, and also at some point f6, and it's also disallowing the rook to get active. His rook. I mean, you were attacking here, but if you have to play here, you know, it's passive, right? And if you have to play here, this is also very passive. And you can see the computer is basically saying here, and then it's just about like me collecting pawns or just getting my pass pawn moving. So obviously this is the reason why he lost, even though this move is whack. I guess the point is maybe I could just play here or f6. D4 is a mistake, but I'm still winning. I guess maybe here f6 is also playable. Yeah, f6. So f6 is good. The reason is f6 is good because we actually forcing him to go back, meaning that, you know, this happens, rook takes h7, right? If he goes here, he's in the back rank now. He's in a box, and then yes, you play d4, and then you simply easy to win from here. You just push the pawn, and f6 is being used as a way that he has a problem in the back rank, right? His rook is passive, my rook is still active. So yeah, I mean, we going couple moves here. You know, actually, I went here. He went wrong. I guess he has to go back. I guess like maybe here. Yeah, he has to go back, and now f6 is probably met by some kind of check, I guess. Like this is probably the only active move now. I mean, even this is maybe wrong. Why is it wrong? Hold on a second. Because I could play. I was looking at rook e6, but maybe this is not enough. Oh, because I could take, right? I mean, typically you want to take here, but this is not enough. The pawn is just moving. Yeah, so the problem is this pawn is moving so fast, we could cut the king off, and then eventually we could win that. I guess I was looking at rook e8, so the rook gets activated, because, you know, it feels like the rook on d8 is not the best move. But anyways, here we play the other line. So this is actually good because I was threatening. So this has two moves into it. Rook checkmate on h3. He's in a box, right? Or we could take. So this actually happened here. So it's easy from here, and obviously we just simply win from this situation. And then he just play f8. I was talking about this move though. You know, I was talking about this check, and yes, you do have. If you go here, you're not making progress. I mean, I'm still winning though, because he could still play here though. We may have to repeat or rook check and still win king g7. Check meaning, just to show you guys what I mean, check here, and I could go here. My mouse is not working very well today, but and then f8. But what I actually meant by like I could lose one more move from here. I have to take, and then he could check me, and then I was talking about going here. So I lose one more move or two moves just to like get out, and then I could still promote. I still have this pawn to push. So it's a good game. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that one, and we'll see about the next one. Grandmaster, folks. E4. We'll play e4. Again, we may play this, you know, let's play, I don't know, I haven't played this in a good while. Maybe like, this is actually some kind of like, I don't know, do you call this some kind of a line? It's playable. It doesn't happen a lot, but you just play bishop b2. But, you know, I haven't played it a lot. I don't even know the line, but it's a try to see if the grandmaster know a little bit more. So you develop that way, and I'm assuming knight c3 is the right way to play. I mean, what else is there to defend the pawn at e4? I'm assuming e6, d5 is a good idea, you know, or d6. So we could play here, knight here, this bishop g4, I suppose, I guess, and then some kind of knight d4. Let's play it. He could play e6, e5, g6, bishop g4. There's a lot of ideas. Even e6, b5. Queen c7, I guess. He played g6 instead. I mean, maybe d4 to get a little bit active. So I want him to take, and then takes and queen takes to justify this bishop b2 thing. I mean, if he takes queen takes, he went for bishop g7, which is, I think, it's probably good enough. So we could play bishop e2. I wonder if this queen b6 could happen, though. I mean, I'm not familiar with the line. It just feels like goofy kind of thing. I'm assuming he's going to castle. Queen b6, bishop d7, knight takes d4. We could castle here, I guess. He may actually take here, and I just wonder if there's a tactic. I don't think there's a tactic now. Bishop d7. Maybe I could take bishop takes f3 to support my center a little bit, because if we play f3, there's a little bit of concern about this diagonal and my king on g1. If I were to play here, you could see this diagonal could be a problem, this side of the board. Yeah, but if I take bishop takes f3, because I do have to play f3 should I take if bishop takes, because he's hitting the pawn in knight e4. Takes f3. Let's go for it. I mean, you could take with the pawn, but I think maybe it's reasonable to take with the bishop. There's also bishop f3, though. However, there's maybe some tactic here. Knight takes c4. You could do this, and bishop takes. Yeah, this bishop is hanging on b2. So that's the reason why here. I mean, you could check on b6. King h1. Yeah, or even better. It's queen e5. Maybe he's swinging his queen now, or he's swinging his queen. I mean, maybe this is not a move, but he's keeping an eye on bishop c3 ideas. To simply take those, not achieving much. Maybe bishop c4, it's b5. Bishop d5. My concern is this diagonal, though. This diagonal seems to be a problem because the bishop is not protected on b2. I mean, if I have rook b1, which I could do it, that at least protect the bishop or the bishop on b2 should I move my knight. My concern is bishop c4 is some kind of b5. I go back b4 action, and it just feels like I'm going like backwards, not in front. Maybe it's a4 and some kind of like bishop c4, I guess. I mean, it's a hard move to make, but maybe a4 is a concept. He may actually do this kind of action, which is maybe a tactic. The idea is here bishop takes. If you take with the knight, is bishop takes b2. Again, this seems to be a problem tactically. I mean, do I have to play rook b1? He may move his knight somewhere, which... I mean, do I have to play queen e1, though, which to protect this tactic? Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't like queen e1. I mean, I'm not a fan. But I'm just defending possible tactics on e4. Because now knight e4, it's simply, I could take with a pawn. I'm defending c3 with the queen. So I'm defending the knight with a queen. Not addressing the issue is b2, the bishop on b2. So he played rook c8. Now could we do e4? Like, with the idea of bishop c4. He's putting some pressure here. You notice he's going after this knight on c3. Even with the rook, the bishop, and the queen. He's keeping an eye like this. Something like that. The rook, the bishop, the queen. It's a smart way of playing, though. So maybe a4. So now he wants to trade. Now he wants to... Actually, trading here with this bishop takes. So maybe this is not a big problem for now, but... I mean, now it's bishop takes. But he wants to jump now, which is possibilities. He wants to jump with his knight. Is bishop takes e4 still a move? Wow, maybe it is. Bishop takes e4 here, bishop takes b2, bishop takes, pawn takes, bishop takes e3. Because now he's connecting the rook. So that's actually the point, bishop takes e4. Still a move. So maybe I have to play rook b1 now, because this is met by knight takes. So bishop takes e4, knight takes, I'm defending, because now b2 is protected by the rook on b1. So all of this so far by him is like tactics so far. He may actually give it a check, and I have to play here. Knight e5 is possible. You don't want to play this b3 line as a Sicilian. You want to avoid it if you don't know it. But maybe we have this action. Maybe this move comes along. Maybe this move with idea he takes, knight takes. Or... yeah, maybe king f8 though. It's still... actually, this may still work out because I could take... so maybe knight d5, the idea here. I could take with check here. Check, king takes, and then take. So I could take a pawn maybe here. Let's see. Maybe I should take a pawn. It should work out because I'm actually attacking his queen. Because if he takes here, it's check. And if he goes here, it's check. Anytime you're dealing with tactics, when you're solving something, you want to combine the possible checks, right? I mean, if the king is not on a check, like let's say on f, if there's no check, right, then most, may not work out, right? Let's say if the king is on h8, there would be no check. I mean, there's still check on g7, but I'm talking about like any tactics. Then you combine like 2 moves, 3 moves, any kind of tactics. You want to like look for checks, right? So he has to play queen d8, which is pretty funny. So now we could take... I just have to start moving fast because I actually could lose on time by default now. So I have to play maybe c4 if he takes, pawn takes. So he may actually he may play knight b6, but maybe I have queen check f4 he took now, so that's good. And then maybe knight c5, knight e5. So he played here, which is a good move, I think. So here maybe he's making the gain on putting his knight in a good square, which is pretty good though. Now this knight cannot be attacked. I mean, I would rather have a pawn at d4, like to kick the knight out, which is not... that's actually the point of e5. You don't have b4 per se. But maybe I'm going after this pawn on e7, so maybe like some kind of check rook e1, doubling up the rooks and go after this pawn. I mean, the bishop, as much as it looks inactive, I mean, he has some discoveries now. I mean, I may have to play king h1. The queen is lining up like this. So now we still have queen takes, so he may have to defend it. We still have a check. We may have to play f4, f5. This is also potential. So I was about to say, before he makes a move, that the bishop's still lining up. There's still some diagonal, even though the bishop is not as active as the knight on c5, but there's still like a diagonal. Obviously, this diagonal is like crushed. Like the b3 pawn is blocking access to the other side of the board, which doesn't mean much. This one means much, right? The bishop, this side of the board. He played here defending the pawn. Okay, so now we could do... let's play f4. Maybe it's f5. Now I'm trying to get my bishop activated much more, actively against his king. He wants to trade queens, which is pretty smart. Considering that if we trade queens, there's not much of an attack happening. So sorry, sir, we're not allowing it. So now it's still f5, the key move here for me. Because I could do f5 and maybe take, so opening up lines. I mean, rook f3, rook f1, go after f7. I mean, now that he's defending e7, I'm just looking for the king now. Like this file might be critical. I have to go a little bit fast because he's playing for the time. So f5 is key. So what does he have? Like, could he play f5 himself? It does give a weakness because but it may stop my f5. I mean, that's actually the goal. f5 here, stopping my f5. But I could go bold. Could I sack? The idea is like getting f5. So maybe I could do like sacrifice. Sometimes you could do this. You sacrifice that way so you could generate an attack, right? But it's like a compensation. You sack the pawn for major activity. Considering we're going after this king. So he played e6, which is actually some way stopping like f5. Because he might take this way. So if I take here, his pawn takes queen check. Is he planning to take with the knight though? Because if he takes with the pawn, there's queen check, queen takes d6. There's a check here. So if he takes with the pawn, this check is happening. Takes with the knight is f5 again. And then that becomes serious now because we are guaranteed to open up. So he took here, now check. And then we could take here. Maybe we have to play queen here. Maybe rook d7. He's planning rook d7 at some point. So here, rook d7. You cannot move the knight or anything because this leads to like, I'm actually attacking the rook too, but there's also like, yeah, attacking the rook, he has to defend it. Rook d7 is probably the only move. Makes sense to me. Rook f7. I was about to say moving the knight to e6, for example. Defending here doesn't make sense because I could take on e6 with check and still like f5 is happening. So now I'm actually liking the idea that the bishop is lining up like that. It's actually more active now, the bishop, than before. So now that's actually kind of give me a little bit of chances now. I'm actually up a pawn at this point, but the concern is for him is I have to play here, I guess, because the queen doesn't have too many squares. But the knight is stopping access for me to take on e6. So the knight's still defending. So f5 is probably met by pawn takes, and then there's not much. I wonder if I could do like g4, f5, but he's going so actively here. That's true. They could go for this one. I have to defend it. Could we do this? So now this is met by queen takes. I don't think he's going to do knight takes. But this is active rook, though. It's active rook on d2. So now he plays here. Maybe here. I'm just trying to... I don't need to have like any back rank issue. That's the reason why I make this move. I was looking at rook d8, but you know, maybe this is just as an active. So maybe this is like a waiting move as well here. So he played here. So I'm defending this pawn, by the way, and I'm still not moving this bishop, which is maybe I'm trying to play this move, rook g3, some kind of tactic here, rook takes. But he's not giving me a room. So if we takes rook here, it's straight of queens. He has rook takes f2 though, which excuse me, rook takes f4. Queen d4. I may have to trade though. I mean, I don't have enough time. Okay, so I'm still up a pawn, but I offer a draw, but he's not taking it. I find that a little bit funny, but I'm still up a pawn. I mean, so I need to get my king to the center of the board, and being up a pawn, it's actually like an asset for me. So the bishop's still active, but it's not attacking. Like, it's different now because we traded queens. So the goal here is maybe to keep the rook on. I think if I were to trade the rooks, it's easier for him to defend. I think. So let's play here. So the king gets active. So maybe rook f3, king e2, king e3, I guess. Let's play here. So I need to get the king here. So the king gets in the center of the board. We're defending b3. We may try to expand now, like play g4, I guess. I mean, it's gonna be a bold game. It's blitz game right now. So he played here, which is kind of gamble. A little bit of gamble here because I have f5. Yes, knight takes. If I were to take rook f7, actually may have to take. So both of our kings on centralized. But again, if I were to play something like this, he might trade and then he gets his king activated. So maybe I need to keep the king, the rooks on. So g4, maybe h4, h5. To try to get activity again. Maybe I could attack h7, but that's actually the next move is probably h4. He may actually do knight e6. Yeah, I was about to say. So he maybe knight d4. I mean, this is like almost a bold game right now. So here, rook d2, bishop d1, I think. Bishop d1. He may repeat, though. Not sure if bishop d1 is the right move, though. I was looking for some kind of tactics but that he could do, but it was just repeating. So bishop back. I mean, again, h5 seems to be key, so maybe h5 now. I mean, he could trade, so we could trade here, but that's going to be rook ending instead of like trading the knight and for the bishop. So having rook ending here up a pawn is good, right, for white. So now I got him to, he's lower than I am, which is good because considering I'm up a pawn, so that's going to be a good thing for me. So he could trade here, I guess. h5 is also a move, but this move is also very good. I guess I could take, then king f3. He could check rook. Oh, I just drop a pawn. Yeah, rook d3 is missed. Oh, we both missed it. He missed it. He had this rook d3. But it's flagged. We're just playing bullet at this point. He may go back here to try to get it, but a little bit too late. We can check and go here, depending on how he goes. So he wants to trade. He has here, but I have rook d5. Rook f5. This seems to be key because I have this pawn under attack after that. So here, which one to take, though, which seems to be key. I mean, it may still be draw, though, after here. Now maybe oh, he won this way. So here, he wants to take on c4. I take on e5. I mean, he might just flag, though. I mean, yeah, I mean, it's interesting game, though. But it's good game to see what happened. Wow, 89%. We were close. We were both close how we were playing. So this b3 move is, it's a line. It's a line in Sicilian. It's a rare line, but yeah, this is probably the wrong move. Is it actually here? Not even this move. It's e5? Yeah, it must be e5. I don't know the line. I mean, to be honest, I don't even know it. But he actually went wrong too for some reason. Actually, no, he went right. So this is actually right. It's equal here. It's interesting that it's equal. I actually feel like here, to be honest, I feel like the next couple moves that black is actually getting active. Like maybe here it's okay, but I actually figured after like castles, like after bishop e2 and castles, I started to wonder if my position is not that great. Yeah, here black is slightly better, if anything. Slightly, if anything. So taking is wrong. It's not a good idea. Why? Oh, you want c4. Wow, it's e4 is a move. Don't understand e4 though, to be honest. But the take is not right. F3. So this is actually what I was talking about. Bishop e4. Yeah, this would lose a pawn because he may have knight takes here. So knight takes idea is if take here takes here, by the time you take here, bishop takes b2. So I saw that and I was like, that's going to be a problem. It tells me it's brilliant. Not sure if it's brilliant, but it's an idea. So that's the reason why I had to play f3, because this is met by pawn, pawn takes. Like here, I could take with the pawn. So he played here, which I think it was best. It's funny that this is somehow looking at like it's equality here, but after queen e1 is a move, right? Well, queen e1 is a move, and then he played this, which is a good move. e4 is a good move. So far, we are following good ideas. And then rook b1. So rook b1 is key, though. I was talking about how, like, let's say if I play king h1, again, we have a trouble here. It's still losing a pawn, bishop takes e4. The idea is here. Actually, you do have to take the queen first. You take the queen first, and then you take here. And black will be up a pawn. And now that's actually a problem because I don't have compensation, because maybe there's a problem with c2, like maybe here. I mean, he cannot, maybe I have bishop d3, but c2 needs protection after like going here. So it looks like, I'm a little bit passive here. Even after c4, it looks like black is just getting active. So he just drop a pawn anyway, so that's not a good idea. So I had to do rook b1. So this is actually met by knight takes, right? Just to show you what I mean, is knight takes because we are defending. Actually, knight takes, yeah, knight takes is takes. We are defending b2, right? Biggest difference, right? So the rook defends b2. So he played here, which is interesting. All of this is like equal, and this is actually a blunder move. Wow. Why is it a blunder, sir? Let me see for myself. Maybe takes... I still believe it's probably takes here. Oh, I see. Check first, and this is hanging. He may take on d5. Wow. It's not because of knight takes e7 or anything. It's actually you just do this supposedly, and then you take. Yeah, he's just winning a pawn. And then after bishop b7, I guess bishop b2, and then queen takes d5. Yeah, he just wins a pawn. And you look at this, is pretty silly, though. Even after c4, the rook on b2 is not well placed. But I can still play c4 and the rook gets activated, though. But I'm just down a pawn for nothing. So, my move is not the greatest. I actually have a better move, I guess. What would be the best move here for me? Actually, e6. Let me see. So a6. I wonder if it's king h1, though. I mean, it could be like this king h1 move. Yeah, it is king h1. So you might play king h1 with the idea of knight d5. Just to show you what I mean. Let's say I play h6. If my opponent plays h6, maybe knight d5 is probably playable now. Yeah, knight d5. So knight d5 with the idea here. This is actually what I'm talking about. Because now there's a check in between. You take with check. And then if he goes here, you just simply take back here, and then you're still attacking. And I'm up a pawn here. So that's actually the beauty about knight d5. In this situation, you do have a check. But I forgot that my king on g1, he has a check on c5. But once you play king h1, you're trying to set up knight d5. So that was a good idea, but knight d5 is not a good idea. And then obviously the reason it gives it an x, because he had a way to win a pawn, right? So here I took, and then c4 is not a good idea. I wonder why. Maybe it's queen d2, I guess. Not even queen d2. c4, and then a5 is it's not a good idea, and it's not liking my move. Why it's not e5 is not a good idea. I guess maybe, let me see. I actually felt like this move was good. So this is not the best. Is it b4 maybe? b4 looks extremely weird. Yeah, this seems to be extremely weird. Let me see. I'm just thinking about it. I don't want to go with the engine yet. Like, I want to think about the move. I mean, here, maybe instead of bishop d3, maybe here f4 is a good idea. I mean, yeah. So maybe white is just going. So maybe I'm just going with my original idea. I don't have to play bishop d3, just f4. And you know, it's funny. Why f4 is pretty good here. I could explain it because now it makes sense to me. The bishop also could get activated this way. I mean, it doesn't have to be bishop d3, bishop g4, and you still may be looking at f5 anyway. The concern that I have with f5 is in this situation, maybe knight e5. But if he goes with this move, maybe it's just f5. Yeah, just f5 here seems to be the goal. So when he lands his knight on c5, but I'm going with a quick f5 to to open up lines. Yeah, so that makes sense. In reality, this move makes sense. Like I don't think e5 is like in general positionally where it's nice because he's making the room for the knight. You don't have b4, and that's the reason why I said b4 is weird because you don't want to play b4 here. But yeah, that makes sense to me. I mean, looks like this feels like it's too slow and not needed. And then here we have queen b6, king h1. This is actually not liking the move. I'm assuming it's just some kind of like maybe e6. Yeah, e6. So the idea with e6 is probably pawn takes. And well, actually knight takes. Wow. Oh, maybe queen c3, queen d4. I guess this is actually met by queen d4. Yeah. So this may be okay, knight takes. I'm still liking white here, to be honest. Like, maybe this is still, like, active. But anyways, this move is not the greatest. And then f4. You don't want to trade queens. If you trade queens, things are going a little bit south for me. I mean, now it's, you don't have, now it just feels like this bishop is silly now on c2 because we traded queens. So anything black would benefit from that. So keeping up. So this is actually a mistake. Knowing why, because it's actually a free pawn. Whoa, it's not the best move. Is it some kind of... I mean, maybe it's f5, but it's... it's f5. It's actually f5 is a move, but it's not the best. But it's playable. So first of all, maybe it's just playing like this. Yeah, you wanna. So it's funny that rook d1 comes to mind for me. You want to play positionally. Sometimes I would have a hard time with these positions because I'm actually looking at tactics here. But this actually rook d1 is more like a positional, tactical ideas because this actually feels like why not this and your rook is already activated once we take the pawn, for example. Let's say here. And then he plays rook d7 just like we had in the game, then, queen check, but you already have an active rook on d1. It makes sense to me. I mean, yeah, maybe that's... even though I'm taking a pawn, but, rook d1 was... obviously, the computer finds ways, this move is passive. So this is also passive. I know h3 is not the best. We all know why, but... So this is also not the best. But, I'm playing fast at this point, and this actually seems to be okay. And then I took, and then it's like, it's not the, I actually feel like he could have took here. Yeah, he could have took and then rook d8. And after bishop c2, if bishop c2 is rook d2, so if I have to play here, then things are getting a little bit silly because he could play rook d2. This is easy to draw from here, even if he's down a pawn. He has enough compensation for the pawn. You always have to worry about rook b2 and how crazy could he take on b3 in some line. So that was the best idea. So to me, this move is not the best because I could actually trade, and then, I could defend rook d2. That maneuvering was good for white because I don't have to worry about activity. Like, I'm trying to generate activity for myself. He doesn't have the activity that he was looking for. We talked about rook b2, how b3 could be attacked, right? And this line is not easy, right? Like you could see my king gets in, and then I get here, and then he took. Maybe it's, yeah, maybe king e3. Yeah, here is difficult. I actually, yeah, this g4 doesn't like it. So he could still hold this, so to draw. And he took, and then I missed rook d3. Yeah, this move is horrendous. Rook d3 was a move. And then now it's super easy for black to defend after taking here. I actually have to worry about this one if I'm if I have to play this with less time, Black King is already on on e5. My king is back on e2, and he's cutting me off. In a bull game, in a blitz game, this is gonna be like, maybe if anything, Black would benefit from this. He was on time trouble, to be honest, but he played here, I played here, he played here. It's still draw, you know, so the real idea here, it's actually king e4, I think it was the move. I was looking here and even king f4. Yeah, so the idea is here, and I'm just don't have enough pawns. Like you could play here, or you could even take. Why not take? Yeah, you could take, and then even if here rook c5 or something, rook c3, rook c3 takes. I mean, that's this pawn is not gonna, doesn't have enough future to do anything. Yeah, so he played the worst move here. I guess this move is still draw, but it's getting yeah, it's still draw. I mean, because he could take, and then, you know, I actually cannot take here. Excuse me. Yeah, so maybe this is actually the winning idea, because I could take. Yeah, I was looking at this because I have an extra pawn. The draw move is probably like maybe this rook b4 also, I think. And maybe this move is a draw. Oh, it's not a draw. Maybe I have this move. Whoa, that's interesting. The pawns start moving. It's actually not so easy. I mean, if you may, I actually felt like this is draw, but how about this move? You may have to check though. Maybe that's a point. You check and repeat. Yeah. So maybe that's a point. But then it's not easy to play this kind of stuff in a bull game. If you have to play this and you have to draw the game, I would be concerned if I'm Black, because the pawn could start moving. But yeah, so hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, and we played the Grandmaster. We also played another strong player, so more like these. Remember, this is going to be educational, learning experience, and you know, hopefully you guys enjoy that. Subscribe and like, folks, and I will see you by the next video.